Hi, welcome back to Wall Street Confidential. I'm Debra Borchardt. I'm talking with Jim Cramer. And Jim, the word of the day is nationalization. Very scary word because of, in America, we love to be capitalists.
Well, there's a lot of people,
like that word.
but a lot of people in realmoney.com who think it would be good, and there's been an ongoing debate in the columnist conversation about this. Now, I want to be very clear. Nationalization, when it's linked to, say, Sweden was just two banks. They nationalized them. I mean, the Swedish banks are about the size of, not even about PNC Financial.
It's apples to oranges.
Right. You know, you won't want to own any stock if Citi and Wells and Bank of America are nationalized, because it's really pretty much the end of capitalism. Mm-hmm. And you know, the people who are, it's like the same people who don't want to help the mortgage people. I mean, I think you have to recognize that there's a moment where it's not about stocks. It's about society. And when you nationalize these banks, you're going to create a world of where it's just pure chaos. There will be no center. I mean, if you go back to the 1930s, you see certain patterns that occurred where the government was lurching from one way to another. We're clearly doing that. Tim Geithner did not talk about nationalization in his speech, but then he disappeared. Ben Bernanke, I think, was a slip of the tongue that he talked about nationalization. There are plans in place to not nationalize. Because they've been so inconsistent, and Geithner's been so vanished, we're losing our banks that were meant to be ring-fenced. I mean, we were going to protect Wells and J.P. Morgan because they were not ne'er-do-well banks, and then be able to split up, say, a Citigroup among private banks. We're losing that option by the day, which is why this is a very perilous time.
Could we look at conservatorship? I mean, we put Fannie Mae into conservatorship.
Well, they were, that was a
kind of worked.
Quasi-government-sponsored enterprise, not really a private sector, not public. Could Citigroup be nationalized? If you decided to guarantee their debt and guarantee their preferreds, I'm okay with it. That's the real worry. See, it's the preferreds. They're all owned by the insurance companies. So then you'd be taking down most of the insurance companies if you took down the preferreds. I'm presuming that nationalization gets rid of all the capital structure. I don't hear anybody who says, no, they're going to preserve the preferreds. If Tim Geithner were to come out and say, listen, we are going to take over the common stock, but we're going to keep the preferreds whole, it would cause a big rally. It has to do with the capital structure. Okay. If the government seizes everything and wipes out all the different entities and bonds and preferreds that Citigroup has, this is not GM. GM has not been an investment grade piece of paper for a long time. Citigroup, if you wiped out all of these, you would pretty much wipe out the finance industry. And if you did that, then our life insurance wouldn't pay. Our property and casualty wouldn't pay, our annuities wouldn't pay, which is where you get social chaos. Okay. I mean, you can't. It's very difficult to imagine society staying put the way it is in a world where that happens. Now, one of the things that occurred in the 1930s is that they didn't understand the gravity of the situation socially. Not in Germany, not in France, not in the United States. We ended up with a stable government, even though there were many attempts to be able to overthrow it in, a Huey Long kind of thing. France did not stabilize. Germany gave us fascism. Italy gave us fascism. Russia gave us a severe form of communism, all in reaction to just the issues we're faced with now. So I think that we have to start embracing the notion that it isn't about what the Chicago traders are talking about with the Chicago Revolution. It's about a real revolution. It's something you don't want to have.
But there's a lot of people in the country that are not Citigroup customers that kind of look at this from the outside.
Do you have insurance? Do you have an annuity? Do you have life insurance? Those will pay. Those will not pay. Now, I think the average American who has an annuity or has life insurance, when he hears or she hears that it doesn't pay, that is not going to produce the same reaction as we saw with the Chicago traders worried about you getting a mortgage.
Is that what they have to say then to sell this idea of nationalization?
They don't know what to say. Obviously, they've vanished. But I do know that if they just say we're going to nationalize, and people think that's the magic wand, it's going to be $7-8 trillion that the government's going to have to put in rather than doing the plan I've been sponsoring over and over again, which is to forbear $7-8 trillion, which we don't have, and a complete collapse of the financial system as we know it, which would produce massive unemployment, wipe out credit cards. There'll be no credit cards in that system. None. There'll be no credit cards. There's no credit. There'll be no life insurance, there'll be no property casualty insurance, and there'll be no annuities because that's what's they're invested in. So that's the world that we're looking at. That's not a world of earnings per share.
Okay.
That's a world of deep down possible insurrection, social unrest.
All right, great. Thank you, Jim. Debra here. Stay tuned for more at thestreet.com TV.